Whenever you're ready.
Hi, I'm Kate Henry, and I'm here to talk to you about how shark finning negatively affects the marine world. In some cultures, it is a delicacy to eat shark fin soup, but in order to maintain the shark fins, or obtain the shark fins must be cut off of a shark. And in many cases, they take a live shark and will simply cut the fins off and throw it back into the ocean. Now, allowing people to hunt sharks legally for the purpose of finning them has a negative effect on the marine world. Before I explain to you how finning negatively affects the marine world, though, I would like to first explain to you what exactly it is. Shark finning is a cruel action that entails the shark being captured, having their fins removed, and then the live carcass being thrown back into the ocean. These sharks are caught by the classic line fishing and by the use of long lines. Now, long lines are made of monofilament and are used to catch big marine animals such as sharks and tuna. Their length ranges from a mile to over 100 miles in some areas. These lines are attached by secondary lines that are then baited. Shark spinners use these long lines in order to catch a large amount of sharks in a small amount of time. Now, to explain to you how shark finning negatively affects the marine world, I'd first like to start by telling you that it affects the marine populations. Shark overfishing leads to collapsing populations. As the chief predators of the ocean, sharks play an essential role in the balance of the marine ecosystem. Their overfishing leads to collapsing populations, which, along with that of other large predators, will likely lead to serious consequences for many other ocean species. There are no laws regulating what types of sharks can be hunted in the finning process, which means that certain species are being depleted before they have time to reproduce. Shark specialists have found that approximately 100 million sharks are killed each year solely for finning, and they estimate that within the decade, due to increased finning, most species will be lost. Also, the decrease in larger shark populations is leading to an increase in stingray and skate populations. In turn, these animals are increasing their intake of their prey, which is leading to a decrease in animals such as oysters and scallops. Secondly, I'd like to tell you that shark finning harms other marine animals, and that is not exclusive to just the shark species. Finning companies often catch other animals to use as bait. Many people who are in the finning business will often capture other marine animals such as dolphins, sea turtles, and whales. Now, these whales are also caught in the nets that are attached to the long lines. So even though these long lines are intended for a shark, there is no guarantee that these animals will only be caught. And so some refer to these long lines as the curtain of death. So shark finning has a negative effect on the marine world and the marine ecosystem. Many marine animal populations are changed, with the threat of certain shark species disappearing. A decrease in shark populations equals an increase in their prey populations, which, in turn, means an increase in scallop and oyster intake. Innocent animals become victims of shark hunting expeditions, getting caught in their long lines and are being used as bait. So that is how shark finning has a negative effect on the marine ecosystem.
All right, Kate, the proposition is interesting because it's kind of buried in the introduction. You start off with what is almost a question, and then after the question and after you set up a little bit of background, there is a good declarative statement, but it needs to be highlighted more that that is in fact the proposition. I didn't think that the contents of the speech were set up as clearly, and so that creates a little bit of a problem. There's some good background information on the controversy. You signpost the secondary structure on the first point pretty clearly, but I didn't hear any of the similar kind of signposting on the other supporting points. The explanation about the line fishing, I thought that that was relatively clear. It does sound like it's descriptive, and maybe it is factual data, but it probably wouldn't hurt to have a citation for that particular information. You've got hypothetical examples. The whole argument about the collapse of the population, I think, is dependent on the one quote that you have that estimates that in 10 years, without it being regulated, the sharks are going to disappear, and that research is not cited by a particular authority. We don't get a date on that. That's your key piece of information on this whole collapse thing. That's your big generalization, and we need better proof on that. It wouldn't hurt to have some additional proof to back that one unidentified researcher up as well. The link to the other species I thought rushed by a little quickly. I'm still not quite sure. I guess the idea is that if the sharks disappear, the other fish will or the other species will thrive, and then they'll wipe out the scallops and the oysters. And what the bad part about that is, I'm not quite sure how necessary the scallops and the oysters to the food chain. You know, don't these things balance themselves out, or is it just that the price of scallops and oysters are going to go up for human beings? I'm not sure why that's such a horrible thing that's going on there. You need better source citations on the evidence that you're providing. You sound a little bit like you're rushing through the presentation, sort of like I'm doing right now, and you know, you had a lot of time in your presentation left. You barely used half of the time of the speech, so there's certainly an opportunity to add some more substantive material to the presentation. All right, thank you.